So, now, of course, one of the campaign promises President Donald Trump had made during his campaign was to bring back coal. And I think that's a terrible idea. He talks about, look, there's a guy that talks about clean coal, right? Oh, it's so clean, right? The guy thinks that literally you take the coal out of the ground and you like clean it with stuff. That's not how it works. It doesn't actually exist. But nonetheless, he has followed through in his promises to try to bring back the coal industry. And how has he done that? Well, by deregulating the industry. Now, of course, other than the obvious environmental issues that you have with coal and the fact that it's the dirtiest fuel on Earth, no matter how much you try to brush it and clean it, right, you can't clean the coal. But look, other than those concerns, there's also another concern that is linked to this deregulation. And that is, of course, the human cost. Now, in all, it's been reported that since Donald Trump took office in 2017, a total of 15 miners have been killed thanks to, in part, lax regulation. Now, that is up from 8 in all of 2016. So they've nearly doubled the amount of coal deaths. Congratulations, Donald Trump. Victory, right? Mission accomplished. Now, the death toll in 2017 is actually the highest since 2014, when there were roughly 60,000 more coal miners at work than there are today. So the coal industry, of course, has been contracting quite a bit thanks to the natural gas boom. Now, the Trump administration is, and look, you hear Donald Trump all over the news, and of course, also people who support Trump. Oh, look at that. More coal jobs. They added a total of 771 jobs into the industry. And yet, double people died with about 59,000 less workers. How's that even possible? Less workers on the job, more deaths. Why? Deregulation, of course. Now, President Trump's support for the owners of mines has actually led to more lax safety enforcement. Now, you have, I'm going to read you a quote here from Joe Main. Now, Joe Main ran the Mine Safety and Health Administration under President Obama. So that's the agency that's, of course, is supposed to look after the miners and make sure that they're not getting killed. Okay. Now, you said that, quote, when you look at the Trump administration's policies and his ratcheting back of regulations, this administration has no moral compass about ethics. Companies also now think that they have a less aggressive sheriff in town. Well, and they would be right. Republican administrations are often far less strict on safety regulations than Democrats are, and that's saying something, because Democrats aren't exactly great on that either. So, and look, this is a problem that has existed far longer than President Trump. We've actually had lax safety enforcements at a lot of different, not only coal mines, but we also have factories and things like that. Why? It's because in a lot of cases, Republicans, or in most cases, I should say, Republicans hate regulation. They love deregulation. And in other cases, Democrats also join in and add to that deregulation. So they both work for industry. Now, as far as the Mine Safety and Health Administration under President Trump, well, they haven't been regulating, and of course, they haven't been enforcing either. Now, here's the thing, right? People think about regulations as terrible things. If you're a Republican, or if you hear about all these onerous regulations, goddamn regulations, right? But all they are is just rules meant to protect you from, in this case, accidents. Or, and also, there are ways to make sure that people are properly trained. And I want to give you some examples here of how many people have died from lack of adequate training in the coal mines. And actually, that lack of training and enforcement rules actually contributed to a majority of these deaths. Now, before I get into those examples, I want to give you a quote here from Phil Smith. Now, Phil Smith is the spokesman for the United Mine Workers of America. He said, there's been a whole new generation of people hired into the coal industry. Younger workers who haven't had the benefit of enough training. Oh, look, coal mining is a hard enough job. If it were up to me, if I were President Jeff today, I would say, invest massively in solar, take all the people that are working in the coal mines, put them in solar jobs, and then close down the mines forever. That's it. And coal mine, it's not like we need it anymore anyway, right? We could generate 100% of our electricity from renewable energy sources immediately if we actually just had the political will and investment. But that saying, the people that are working in the coal mine, they don't deserve to be killed just because of what they do. And so, but that unfortunately, that seems to be what's happening today. Back to Smith here. He says companies are resistant to taking time taking time to take them off production in order to train them. So this is something that they could actively go and enforce. Hey, look, if you're not training your workers properly and there's workplace accidents, well, we're going to come after you. That's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to actually make sure that your workers are, again, adequately trained and safe. Unfortunately, that has not been happening, and it's had deadly consequences. Let me give you some examples here. Back in May, Lucha's Big Blue Rosser, 44-year-old man, was traveling on an electric locomotive deep in a West Virginia mine when his head hit a steel beam, instantly killing him. The official investigation into his death found that Rosser, a husband and father of 3, hadn't been properly trained in the machine. So, he knew how it worked, but was never briefed on safety procedures. So, their training basically consisted of, here's how you push the button to go. Now go. Not, hey, maybe you should watch out for, steel beams. Look, yes, they actually do have to tell you that because, again, I've never worked in a mine, so most people who haven't worked in a mine think, oh, well, it's easy, just duck your head. But, again, we don't know the conditions inside the mine or what kind of proper safety procedures that people actually have to do to make sure that they don't have these kind of unfortunate accidents. There's another one here. In July, Andrew Oxenrider, a 28-year-old with 7 years in the job, exited his Caterpillar D9L bulldozer on the slope of a refuse bank. Oxenrider had not been trained in proper parking procedures for that model, and the bulldozer rode backwards, killing him before falling to the bottom of the embankment. Again, that's something that you would think, some people might think is common sense, but if you're not trained to how to properly brake the vehicle and to make sure it doesn't roll backwards, well then, again, this is what happens. Now, another worker disabled his drilling machine's emergency shut-off system so he could make minor alignment adjustments, only to get pinned between the cutter head and the coal seam, suffering, quote, fatal crushing injuries, according to state investigators. Again, this is something that, hey, maybe if they actually took the time out there to tell them not to do that, and that, hey, this is what happened, or what would happen if you actually do something like this, if you actually make adjustments without actually shutting the thing off or whatever, this is how to properly operate it, then this stuff wouldn't happen if they train you. And again, coal mining is dangerous, right? If you're not trained, you can die in horrific ways. And that last one, being crushed fatally, oof, not a good way to go. And so look, what happened after this all this stuff happened, right? Some of these companies were given citations. Now, one example is Rockwell Mining, who was given a total of 7 citations, 2 of which carry a $10,000 fine. Now, what was the Trump administration response to these accidents? Oh, we just need more education. We don't need more enforcement. We don't need to enforce these fines. No, we just need to tell these companies, don't do that again. And that's it. Now, the Trump administration and the, the Mine Safety and Health Administration under Trump has put safety and enforcement as a very, very low priority. Now, how did they do that? Oh, well, I'm going to tell you how they're actually trying to enforce safety at the mines, and I'm going to ask you, and I'm going to explain why that's not enough. Now, for the first 7 months of the Trump administration, the top position at the MSHA actually remained vacant, so they didn't have anybody to actually do any safety and enforcement. Now, in August, congressional aide and White House advisor Wayne Palmer was put into that position. However, he had no experience in mining or in mine safety. And later on, Trump appointed a man named David Zatazalo. Now, Zatazalo is a retired coal mining executive to run this administration, and he has some questionable commitment to miners' welfare. For example, his Rhino Eastern mine back in West Virginia was hit with multiple violations in 2010 and 2011. And they've been hit with more than $2.1 million in fines for a total of 162 workplace safety or health violations since 2000. And Trump says, hey, let's put that guy in charge. So now this guy is running the agency responsible for safety, and how's he doing? Well, so far, not so good. So here's how the MSHA has been regulating and enforcing mine safety under Zatazalo. According to Newsweek, the MSHA is now pushing a more lenient safety check system called compliance assistance. Now, that was a program that was actually put into place under George W. Bush. Now, Newsweek explains if a compliance assistant visits a mine and notices a safety and health violation, he or she does not have the authority to issue a citation or a fine the way an official inspector would. Which, by the way, yes, there are still official inspectors, but as I'm going to explain later, that's also going to be curtailed. Now, they said if such assistants see something on a mine that may be wrong or bad or violation, all they can do is ask the company politely to fix it. No citations, nothing. Just, oh, yeah, hey, we see that could be unsafe. And the company's like, yeah, okay, noted. And then that's it. There's no compliance enforcement. No, it's voluntary compliance. This is corporations regulating themselves. There's no enforcement. All these assistants do is just walk around. They point out potential problems and they leave. They're basically tourists in these mines. That's their plan for mine safety. Have more of those. What's worse is that they're cutting back in the budget. Congress has proposed to cut the MSHA's coal enforcement budget by $11 million or 7% in the next fiscal year, leaving the agency with its lowest budget since fiscal year 2013. And Trump had originally proposed to leave the budget largely untouched, but reduce staffing by 42 positions. So, yeah, they came to a compromise on that and said, let's just eliminate these jobs in enforcement and safety. Furthermore, Trump announced last month that MSHA was reconsidering rules intended to protect miners from breathing in dust that causes black lung. And in his first few days as president, Donald Trump has eliminated Obama-era rules blocking coal companies from dumping waste into streams. That is how the Trump administration is helping coal. Look, that's how he's supposedly helping coal miners. And not only that, but he's actually, Rick Perry in this administration also has attempted to prop up the dying coal industry. And that's what this is, right? This is a dying industry, not because of these regulations, right? No, it's because of cheaper natural gas and cheaper, clean, renewable energy, which is what we should be going to. All this administration is doing is taking a dying industry and making it far more deadly for the workers. No amount of deregulation is going to save coal. However, as we've seen, those regulations, those rules that everybody hates, could actually save your life. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.